So welcome to DAO Talk.
Thanks. So great to be here.
Yeah, give us a little intro, who you are, what you're working on, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. So I'm Zach Bronstein. I'm the COO of Endaoment. Endaoment is DeFi's community foundation. And really, we're organized around the central principle of helping to steward and facilitate the charitable donations of cryptocurrency. So right now, we accept over 1,000 tokens natively in the application. And then, of course, we also accept really any tokens outside of Ethereum that have a liquid market. We'll take it, we'll sell it, we'll move it onto our platform, and you'll be able to send it to charity. And of course, everyone that donates on our platform can get a tax receipt for doing so.
Awesome. So before we go into, the weeds of what Endaoment is and how it works and everything that entails, what's your background? Like, how long have you been in the space? What were you doing before? And, what gets you fired up about the space? Like, what got you into it?
Yeah, so my introduction to the crypto space was really Endaoment itself.
Okay.
I was kind of interested in the space and watching from afar. I was working at Morgan Stanley doing like back of office finance stuff and really curious, but didn't really understand the value until I started speaking to people in the space and attending events like this to understand really like what blockchain technology can accomplish. And the thing that drew me in and got me really excited, really two things. One is about what Endaoment does, figuring out the right ways to move money to charities in a really kind of swift fashion. And second, it's the transparent element of the blockchain technology itself, which is so cool. And those two things go together because if you look at a Venn diagram of things that folks in the blockchain space care about and things that folks in philanthropy care about, there's this big overlapping section of transparency in the middle and figuring out the right way to help nonprofit folks understand the value of this new technology, I think is going to bring even more people into the space who are going to create more projects, who are going to bring more people into the space, and the cycle continues.
Yeah. What year did you get into it?
Oh, yeah. So I've been in this for about 2 years. I got involved in late 2019.
Okay.
Before that, I spent the better part of a decade, like I said, at Morgan Stanley doing back of office finance. And before that, my life was really centered around nonprofit work. I worked as a teacher and a tutor, a development officer, kind of across a number of different nonprofits, both in and after college. Wanted to do something a little more finance-based. This is how I ended up at Morgan Stanley. And now, finally, I've taken these two kind of disparate environments and smashed them together. And that's
the perfect storm. That's how I was, like with content. I'm like a creative guy. And then also I love tech. So it's like, I feel a lot of people in the DAO space or just in crypto in general, it's like an intersection of a bunch of different industries. And like, there's something for everyone, right? Like Endaoment. So let's go into Endaoment. So, you gave us a little bit of a background about it, but kind of give us like a general overview. What is Endaoment? How is it doing? Who is it helping?
Yeah, absolutely.
So go wherever you want with it.
Endaoment is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And we are the first completely on-chain nonprofit organization, at least that we know about in the United States. What we do is we allow people to donate their cryptocurrency into what's called a donor advised fund. You can think about it sort of like a charitable checking account. You put some Ether, some Bitcoin, some Link token, or whatever you have into this fund. We programmatically take whatever you are donating, exchange it for US dollar coin, and then things live as US dollar coins in your fund. And then whenever you choose, you can grant those funds out to any one of the 1.5 million charities that are in good standing in the States, all of which have profile pages on the Endaoment site. So we're not waiting for organizations to come to us and, get on board or pay us some money so we create something for them. We created a system, essentially public goods infrastructure, that now can serve to allow grant making in crypto for nonprofits. But of course, we deliver those grants however the nonprofits want. So if the nonprofit wants to receive USDC, we'll send them USDC. If they are not crypto savvy, if they don't want to open a wallet or open a Coinbase account or change their gift acceptance policies with their board, we can send them a bank wire using Circle's Payouts API.
So two things. Because I'm still learning about Endaoment too.
Yeah,
I've used it once, but I'm still like, I want to learn more about how it all works. Like, one, so say like someone wants to donate to a nonprofit, right? Can it be just any nonprofit, right? They come onto Endaoment, they say, this is the nonprofit. what information do they have to put in? How does that work?
Yeah, so as long as the nonprofit is a 501c3 in good standing, and that's just the designation that the IRS assigns to nonprofits, you can donate to them on our site.
So they come onto the site. What does it look like?
So they come onto the site. You have a wallet connect button in the upper right-hand corner, and there's also another button that says organizations. You can click on organizations and immediately just type in the organization you're looking for. It searches through our kind of massive list of 1.5 million organizations. It brings you to the organization you're looking for. And at that point, you can do one of two things. If you already have a donor advised fund that you've opened, you can make a grant to this organization. It's called a grant, but essentially it's a donation from your fund. You can also do what's called a direct donation. So let's say you haven't opened a fund and perhaps you don't want to open a fund. You want to donate this one time to this one organization, and donor advised funds are really for folks that are making a large donation and then granting it out in pieces, perhaps to multiple organizations or to one organization over a set schedule, right? So perhaps you don't want to do that. You come on our site, you connect your wallet, you find the organization, you click donate, you put in, 1 Ether or however many of any tokens that we accept in app. You click donate, and that's it. If you want a tax receipt, we do need your email and your physical address in order to properly format that receipt. But that's it.
Awesome.
You get a tax receipt, money, you can track it. It comes to our wallet. We then send it over to Uniswap to trade it for US dollar coin, back to our wallet, and then to the organization that you chose. What's really cool is that every smart contract that is an organization smart contract has the organization's ID, a number called an EIN, hard-coded into that contract. So you can always figure out which organizations are receiving funds on endowment just by looking at the chain. And really what that means is that anyone with sufficient knowledge of how the chain works, how a website like etherscan.io works, they can conduct a public audit of all things endowment, all money in, all money out, all money moving around internal.
Super transparent.
Exactly.
So say there's this nonprofit, they have no experience with cryptocurrency. Are you guys reaching out to them and saying, hey, we have a donation someone made, and then you are basically onboarding them? Or I know you said if they want to accept USDC, they can, or if they want, something else, they can do that. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So the first bit that I was just talking about is really like what we look like to donors, right? And how we approach donors. But you're asking about how we talk to nonprofits. And we are very frequently the first crypto conversation that a nonprofit is having, because they got some email and they're like, hey, I got an email from Endaoment. It says someone made a grant recommendation to us for, $2,500. Want to figure out what's going on, who you are, and also feeling a little skeptical about, crypto generally or something. There's always a little bit of FUD in those conversations, which is totally appropriate because folks are new to the space. So we take that opportunity to introduce them to blockchain technology, to introduce them to the Ethereum blockchain where we operate. And it's just kind of a slow onboarding process into Web3, right? At first, most organizations are going to be a little skeptical and a little perhaps freaked out that some guy is trying to send them money and asking for their banking details so we can create a wire. What's really nice is we have enough momentum at this point that we can point to a number of successes that we've had in organizations we've worked with before. So it's easy to make those inroads. Exactly. That reputation precedes us.
So on that, like what were there some struggles early on? Like you say, you reach out to this company, probably super skeptical about crypto. Like what are those conversations like, or what were they like early on? Like I know they're getting a little bit better, but
they certainly are getting easier as time goes on. And I was just talking to one of your colleagues, when proof of stake goes through, it's going to be even easier because suddenly there are many fewer concerns that need to be addressed. But you're right. Early on, conversations were a little bit more difficult. And what that looks like is explaining to somebody who asks a question, how do I know this isn't a scam? Like how we operate what we do. So in the beginning, it was a lot of sending our nonprofits bylaws, sending our 501c3 accreditation letter from the IRS, and directly hooking up whoever the nonprofit admin I was talking to with the handful of people we had already made grants to, and kind of get that momentum moving. Now, people are really easily able to find out information about endowment. And the conversations, I would say on average, in the beginning, had to put anywhere between 45 minutes and 2 hours into delivery of any specific grant just because of multiple conversations happening. We talk to an admin, we talk to the director of development, and maybe we also would need to talk to somebody on the board. Now, those conversations, if we have them, average at about 10 to 15 minutes, just helping to answer some of their questions. And now what's much more frequent is people are coming to us and saying, hey, I got this grant and like I want to get this set up and working great. But also I had this idea or I had this curiosity about NFTs or something along those lines. And then it creates a whole bunch of other conversations that we're always excited to participate in.
So a business gets an email, they received a grant. Like, what's the process like that? They just enter their bank details and it gets directly deposited to them?
That's
It's as simple as
basically
that?
it. So they get an email saying you received a grant. They can click on the link in that email to do what's called claim their organization, which essentially means tell us who to contact for that organization and a little bit of information about their banking details. We need an account number and a routing number to make a wire just as you would for, any account. At that point, they have the choice to self-serve, click on that link, fill that information and submit it. We'll then reach out and just ask for a piece of bank verification, like a voided check or
Yep.
redacted bank statement. If they don't want to self-serve, we kind of put them into the funnel of communication. We set up a meeting. We spend anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes answering their questions, helping them to become comfortable. And we have somewhere between a 99 and 100% record in terms of our ability to deliver grants to nonprofits. So we pretty much always get to the yes, even if we have to jump through a couple hoops, occasionally have, like I said, multiple meetings, but we always get to the point where we are able to deliver those funds to the nonprofit. Even if they don't want to receive a bank wire, we still have ways around that where we can move the money into our bank account and then donate via PayPal or on their website with a credit card, things like that.
So you said there is sometimes when like you just can't deliver the funds.
I say that we've delivered, 99 to 100% of grants because there is one grant in particular, actually two grants that we have not been able to deliver of the 560 or so that we've made.
Yeah.
Those two grants, just to make it really clear, one of them was because of the restriction the donor put on the grant. When you make a charitable donation and you get a tax receipt for doing so, you are not allowed to receive any sort of tangible benefit for that donation. Otherwise, it's not a donation. It's you paying money for an item or service, right? So the donor in question made a restricted grant to a nonprofit and said, I would like tickets to such and such gala for this donation. And I went back to them before the email even went out to the nonprofit and said, hey, I'm sorry, we can't support this. You can make this donation, and then separately you can purchase tickets, but you can't make this donation and receive a thing of value, right? The only other grant that we were not able to deliver, and this is sort of an edge case, if you will, it was a very, very small nonprofit run by one person, which is currently not taking wire payment donations, check donations, or credit card donations online. And they only receive, it was like a very local nonprofit that only works in cash. I wanted to find a way to support them. And honestly, I've gone back to them to try to figure out, like, is there a way that we can make this work? But that is the one time that we weren't able to deliver a grant.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're saying you've been passionate about nonprofit your entire life, pretty much. Like, what gets you super excited about not only just Endaoment, but Web3 and crypto in general? How is it solving some of the issues that maybe you saw when you were coming up in that space?
It's a great question. I think crypto generally in the Web3 space are powerful for nonprofit work and for kind of this whole ecosystem that we're creating. I think the most interesting way to answer that question is to talk about the way that people are volunteering their time at a DAO, right? And I guess the motivation of people to contribute toward collective action in the DAO environment is something that I don't see outside of this world. I see that a lot of people, sure, there are people that volunteer, but a lot of people want to be paid for their time and their contributions to a project or to a service. And DAOs really represent this great way to expand the potential of folks that could get involved with whatever you're working on, right? Because it is decentralized. Instead of only looking regionally, you can look all over the world for people to get involved. And then people are motivated to actually get stuff done, to come up with ideas, to figure out new ways to do things. When you look at the philanthropic world in particular, and I can speak, only to my own experience, but a lot of organizations that I worked at, their level of tech understanding or kind of tech adoption is pretty low. And a lot of that is really due to the fact that the average age of most 501c3 workers is decently up there, right? What that means is that they've kind of fallen behind in the world of technology, which is a crazy thing to say when you look at like the last 20, 30 years of the way that technology has developed and the way that the internet has changed everything about everything that we do. Web3 brings us to an opportunity to kind of inject a new sense of technology into nonprofits, help them understand the value, which I think is really based on the transparency hook, right? And then suddenly we are helping nonprofits to adopt technology that I think they wouldn't otherwise adopt if they weren't forced to for many years, because they are, in my experience, usually pretty resistant to change.
So what do you think is making them more like open to it? Just the transparency nature, like
I really
the
do think it's
ease of it.
transparency. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the ease and it's the transparency, and it's so interesting because there are plenty of conversations I have even now, even with our reputation preceding us, where a nonprofit comes to us, shares a bunch of FUD, and is like, "Why should I trust you?"
Yeah.
Right? The most motivational thing that I can say to them is to talk about the transparent nature of the blockchain space. Sometimes people are concerned, how do you stop bad actors from using Endaoment to donate to my charity? When I show them, I'll do a screen share, I'll show them how Etherscan works. Like we'll poke around a couple wallets and a couple contracts and track a couple transactions through Endaoment. And they're like, this is nothing like that exists for them.
Zero.
They have more insight into the finances of Endaoment than often they do into the finances of their own organization, right? If they're not the CFO or on the CFO team. So that transparency, I think, is really exciting to folks and is the thing that gets them to want to learn more and decide to get involved in Web3 beyond just accepting grants in the form of US dollars from Endaoment.
So what about the flip side? How do you think it's encouraging or enabling or empowering like people who want to donate?
So for folks who want to donate, I think they're also interested in the transparent element as well.
Yeah.
But more so than that, folks that use our services are really excited to be able to spread the word of their use of our services, right? They want to show that they are philanthropic in nature, sometimes because, they've sold a whole bunch of NFTs or they've made a bunch of money in crypto and want to give back and demonstrate in a public way that they're giving back. And sometimes there's some other reason why they want to be public. We're sort of agnostic to the reasons, but what we can do is that when you create a donor advised fund at Endaoment, that fund is by default private. The only person that can see it is you when you are logged in to Endaoment with your wallet, right? We can, however, flip a switch to make that fund either into a public community fund, which has a number of different rules with it, but essentially allows anyone to donate into it and grants out those dollars to a number of preset charities, or it can be an individual donor advised fund that has the tag transparent. What a transparent fund is it's your fund that you control and only you can donate to, but you can share that fund URL with anyone via Twitter. They can look at that fund and see a record of every donation into that fund, linked with the Etherscan transactions of those donations, and every grant out of the fund linked with the grant Etherscan transactions. So what that allows people to do is to have a kind of central point to organize all their philanthropic activity around, and they can direct anyone who's interested or who they want to continue to motivate to maybe get more involved in philanthropy to their page so they can see exactly what their activity has looked like for the past days, weeks, months, however long they've had that donor advised fund.
That's awesome. What use cases do you see popping up, or maybe you don't know, obviously, but because it's the future, but like right now, it's just, you can deposit pretty much any coin and donate. It's a very simple transaction, but do you see anything like with NFTs or any other mediums for like nonprofit donations or fundraising or things like that?
Oh yeah, I have a lot. You see me nod here. I have a lot of things to share. Yeah. So currently we are working on version 2 of our smart contracts, and we're going to announce this later this year. We look to be rolling them out either just before fourth quarter or in the month of October.
Okay.
2 really important things that I can speak generally about that these new smart contracts are going to allow us to do. First and foremost, it will allow people to take the USDC that is in their donor advised funds and put it to use in some way, right? Maybe that's deploying that USDC to an Aave or to a Compound or to a Yearn. Maybe it's taking that USDC and buying a basket of goods and holding some ETH or some Link or some Uni in your donor advised fund so you can remain exposed to the crypto positive upside.
Interesting.
Right? So essentially, normal donor advised funds at Morgan Stanley, my old employer, or Schwab or Fidelity, most of the time what people do is they make a donation of cash or of stock or of property, and then they say, throw it into such and such index or mutual fund. And essentially, we're creating the Web3 crypto version of that.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
So, and that money just keeps getting donated.
Yeah,
right?
and the
It
goal
grows
is
and donates.
it grows, it goes right back to that account. And as soon as you're ready to make a grant to a nonprofit, you can vacate those positions, go back into USDC and make a grant. And the hope is that people can make smart investments with their principal, earn some interest, and suddenly they have grown the amount of money that they're able to get to charity at the end of the day without actually donating any additional dollars. To directly answer your question about NFT interactions, the second important thing that we're working on is finding the right way to make our contracts more composable. Right now, when you want to make a donation to your donor advised fund or a direct donation to any organization on our platform, you have to use our UI. It's the only way it works. You
Okay.
connect to our UI, connect your wallet, and move through the system. What we want to do is we want people to be able to say, I want an Ethereum address for my donor advised fund or for carbonfund.org. And I want to use that as my validator MEV tip address, or I want to use that for the payout address for secondary sales of my NFT, right?
Yeah.
And while they can't do that now, that's the system we're moving towards. We're trying to find the right way to turn on additional functionality here and allow people to not have to use our UI to kind of build new and exciting tools. Our goal is to create a subgraph of our system that has an Ethereum address associated with every 501c3 nonprofit in the States.
That'd be awesome.
So that you can just look at the subgraph and you can say, I want to donate some funds related to this project to such and such organization. You'll have an Ethereum address and you can send WETH, or any ERC20 directly to that address, and we'll take it from there and get that money to that charity in the form that makes the most sense to them, USD or USDC.
How long do you think that'll take?
We already have over 600 organizations deployed, meaning with a smart contract on our site. And that's an action that is taken by the first donor to donate to a specific nonprofit.
Yeah.
If you go to a nonprofit and they don't have a smart contract, you'll click deploy, you'll deploy their smart contract, then you can make a donation, right? To get up to 1.5 million organizations is going to take time. And to be honest, I don't think we're ever going to get to 1.5 million organizations, because there are plenty of these organizations that are either really small, or they're a private foundation, or there just happens to not be anyone who holds crypto that wants to donate to organization XYZ.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? So when we launch our smart contracts later this year, all of the deployed organizations and all the donor advised funds on our platform are going to immediately be composable in the way I'm describing. Every new organization or new fund that's deployed is also going to immediately be composable. So really, it's just a matter of how quickly our user base decides to deploy additional organizations. With that said, we're also always looking for opportunities to deploy, essentially create smart contracts for organizations. So anytime that a month has a holiday theme, June being Pride Month. If you look at Endaoment, you'll see a number of Pride-related organizations are deployed every single day and week of this month, really as a way for us to kind of do a little bit of virtue signaling and show the types of organizations that we want people to consider donating to. And it also allows us to look at the vast array of organizations that fall into a specific category and kind of sort through them and curate a list a little bit, so people can know, oh, this is a deployed organization. Someone has done a little bit of research or due diligence to make sure they're in good standing and they do good stuff. Awesome. I'm going to donate to them.
That's awesome. Yeah, it kind of seems like twofold. Like I realized in the beginning when you're saying you're reaching out to a lot of these organizations, right? It's like, one, you're allowing people to donate and you're providing a service, but at the same time, you're pushing the message of transparency in crypto. And a twofold, like also nonprofits.
That's really our mission, because we want nonprofits to understand the benefit that crypto can bring them in the same way that we want folks in the crypto community to understand the value that nonprofits provide. There's so much room for these two communities to kind of bleed into each other a little bit and figure out ways to do some work together that benefits a lot of people that, could use those benefits right now. And I think what's so cool about the overlap of philanthropy and crypto is that there are just a lot of really good-natured folks who want to do good things for the communities they're a part of. And if you are starting off with that positive intent and that positive energy, we're going to find a way to be successful together as a crypto philanthropic community.
So kind of going off that, that positive vibe, what is your favorite part about being in the space?
Favorite part about being in this space is honestly just talking and networking to people. And it's not just at events like this, but all the time, people pop into our Discord or we pop into other Discords and have an interesting conversation about a, potential product that we could build together, a potential opportunity to do some work together and do some good. And that really is why I said what I said a couple minutes ago about the just good nature of folks in the space. So many people I talk to are just wanting to contribute, just wanting to share an idea. We had actually had an engineer yesterday reach out to me saying he wanted to volunteer his engineering hours, even though he's got a full-time job, to help us do what we do because we are a 501c3 nonprofit building public good infrastructure for all US 501c3 nonprofits. But just so cool to network in the space and to meet people and find that they're actually like a lot of positively motivated individuals who are doing the right thing. A little bit, not to disparage the world that I came from, but a little bit different than like financial conferences that bankers go to, certainly.
Yeah. So what about least favorite thing? Not to get too negative, but like what's your pet peeve? What would you change if you could change one thing in the space?
So this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I'm not a really big fan of the when moon type conversations. There is so much value that the Web3 and crypto community can create outside of individual market capitalizations of tokens. And there's a lot of other things to be excited about. And there's nothing wrong with being excited that your project or a project that you invested in is taking off. It's a really exciting moment and you should be able to enjoy it and like talk about it online. But we're at a point right now where we have an opportunity to explain to people outside of the space what we do and what we're about. And if we take that opportunity and we explain that the things we're about are building interesting projects together as a community, about moving, in the example of Endaoment, money out of crypto and into the world of philanthropy, they're excited about that. If the only thing that we're talking about is token valuation, we're going to exclude a whole bunch of people that would otherwise be included in this community and would be excited about joining this community. And just to be honest about, my own personal backstory, some of that kind of language was the reason that I was a little hesitant to join the space. And the kind of language that I'm talking about of community building, interesting projects, philanthropy, that's why I'm here now.
Yeah, something we've been talking about a lot with talks is like it was kind of perfect timing with this event. NFT NYC obviously happening this week, but with the market just tanking, and you're kind of getting a washout of the when moon people, right? The people that are just in it for the money, trying to extract value. And you have an event like this where it's like everyone's here for the right reasons. Everyone hopefully is building really awesome things, and talking about how we can make this space better. So completely agree. Yeah,
the best part of a bear market, even though it's really rough for a lot of people, and there are lots of folks out there who I feel for because they are in tough financial positions right now. But the best part of a bear market, to look at the silver lining, is that this is the time that quality projects shine. Folks who are watching the whole podcast will notice, like, oh, you've only been around 2 years, and this is your first bear market. So, what really do you know? But from what I hear, this is the time that strong projects really shine, that some of those weak projects and, paper hands folks, if you will, kind of fall out of the environment, and we can really focus on building. A lot fewer people now are popping into our server and saying, like, when are you going to have a token and when can I buy it? And a lot more folks are saying, like, what ideas do you have about decentralization of governance of your platform? Which is something that we're really excited about. We want to take our board of directors, which we have to have as a nonprofit, we're going to move them on chain such that all of their votes, all of their decisions are made in a totally transparent way. We can share that with our community. And it would also mean that anyone else that we want to elect to that board in the future, those elections would all happen on chain, right? So figuring out the right ways to build additional transparency into the systems that we're creating here to demonstrate for others how a 501c3 can exist on chain in a compliant fashion.
Yeah. Okay, so it's kind of shifting away from crypto. We'll end on this. What is your favorite place in the world and why? And it can be multiple places. We've had a few multiple answers, but.
So my favorite place in the world is the Berkshires region of Massachusetts. It's where I grew up going to camp for a number of years. Last year, I was at my CEO's wedding in the Berkshires. It's a really special place for me because I love nature. I love being in a place where I can sit in a backyard and listen to birds and like the hum of bugs in the summer and not hear, cars and
Yeah.
trucks going by and sirens. And for me, it's just an opportunity to stop all the craziness, reflect, relax, and begin to kind of return to my roots a bit
Yeah.
of just kind of like hanging out
Yeah.
outside and
Chilling out.
a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
So it's nice to return there. I was actually there with my wife and two of our friends and our dogs a few weeks ago, just like rented a house and basically just sat outside, went to restaurants and grilled. And like, there's really very few things, if anything, that I like more in the world than having that kind of experience in that place.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people, almost all the answers have been somewhere where it's like nature, unplug. Something someone talked about earlier was like, Web3, so go, 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 go. Like you need to have time to, chill. It's about balance. Having hobbies outside of crypto is super important. So what would you say if people want to get involved, where should they go with Endaoment? Yeah.
If people want to get involved, they can find us in a couple of different places at endaoment.org on Twitter. Spelling of Endaoment is important here because it has the word DAO in it, ENDAOMENT. You can go to our website, which is just endaoment.org. You can find our Discord at discord.gg/endowment. And then, of course, you can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at _Zach Bronstein.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining DAO Talk. And we're looking forward to seeing what Endaoment does in the future.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.